So, yesterday I was talking to one of the chaplains, and that kind of a certain conversation came up, and they were saying, amongst other things we were discussing, they said last night, they were saying, one main reason that I come to Unity of Sedona is that you are somebody who was teaching that God comes first. And that may seem like a no-brainer, or it may seem like a complete revelation. Even if you think you know what it means, to live it is another story. So, God first in all things. In all things. That means if you think you're lacking something, it's okay to believe you're lacking something. And shaming ourselves isn't going to do us any good. But let's also take a moment to step back and say, wait, God first, what is the presence of God? How does God deal with? What would God teach me to do in moments of lack? And I've taught for so many years, it's not get me out of this, because people's prayers are typically get me out of this mess. Prayers are, and it sounds so irreverent, which is okay because I'm pretty irreverent, but it sounds irreverent when people pray. It sounds irreverent for me to say that when people pray, it's almost always selfish. It's get me out of this mess, get me more of this or that or whatever. Almost nobody has prayed in a way that says, be with me while I go through this. It's get me out of this. So we're living a life of falsehood, absolute falsehood. So I want to share this idea of truth and falsehood, the difference, because they're different. People even say the truth. And Sedona is a very popular place for learning, coming in, and there's so many truths here. People even say, I love Sedona. There's so many truths, which is exactly the problem. Lowercase t, lowercase t, the truths. And something, thank God, something in me always taught me, I felt in me, I actually don't want to know the truths. I don't want to know the mundane versions. I want to know the truth, capital T. Now, that doesn't mean my truth versus your truth, because that's still truths. How can I know the truth of God? And the truth of God isn't comparing information. Whose truths, are more accurate? The truth of God doesn't dispute anything. The truth of God is absolute conviction, knowing love is, only peace is, only joy is, only abundance is. So when we're living in, I want to create more prosperity and so on, which is a great thing to do. You're starting to descend into truths. And then, of course, there's lower than that, false. But our goal is not to just go from our opinion of false to our opinion of true. There's something else, the truth of God. And again, it's not competing with information one against another, because that's back to duality. To know the truth of God is almost like saying, you know what, I want a spiritual lobotomy. Take out of my mind all desire to argue points with people. To argue rights and false and true and this and that and up and what's better and my dad can beat up your dad and, my God's better than your God and all these silly ways of behaving. So I've always had this feeling, studying anything, the truth. I'd rather just be guided in what the truth is rather than developing a truth to argue with somebody else's truth, which is we call religion today. Well, it is kind of, right? So one of the things we do when we're learning the truth, and again, falsehood, capital T truth, way up here, part of God, there's nothing wrong with fine-tuning lesser truths, because you will go from falsehood to truths before eventually the truth. But there's some easy tricks to learning what is the truth. One of them is look for the common love between all the little truths. That'll help you get there. As soon as you don't dispute and separate them and fight them, oh, okay. There's an old saying, that if you took all the teachers of various traditions, even philosophers, brought them in the same room, you would find that they agree on the main common points of reality and consciousness. And that's closer to the truth, is what I'm saying. It doesn't mean you have to study everything, but I'm just saying, even in life, even when you mediate an argument between two people, you're looking for something beyond what their heads are saying And that's actually good mediation. It's almost like a channeled form of counseling. What is beyond what they're saying? What is beyond what they're thinking? Oh, and you're starting to lock into that person's heart, and then words start coming to you that start weaving these two people together that seem so separate. And they say, wow, that's amazing, that's brilliant. But it's not a technique. I personally can teach some of those techniques, but if you don't love people, the techniques will only take you so far. When you love people, it helps inspire you and open you to knowing what they need to hear at any given moment. But it's not like a fancy technique. The techniques you can teach a bit of. But again, they would run into something, a wall of some sort, if they don't actually feel a sincere desire to help people. The great Edgar Cayce, why did he have his gifts? Well, various reasons. Those were not coincidental, but one of the main reasons there were technique things, there were linear things about his skills. How did he know how to channel? How did he know how to detach from his ego? All these wonderful things. Those are things he learned over lifetimes. But none of those would have happened, certainly nowhere near his accuracy level and so on, had he not had one extra thing, his prayers to want to help people. The heart has to be part of it, or it's just another thing of this world. So whether you're an architect or a counselor or whatever we do, all those things can be brought to an entirely different level when we truly, sincerely want to know a greater truth of life. There's nothing that needs to be excluded from the truth of God. Again, you can be, a stay-at-home partner. You can be, a maid. You can be an architect, a doctor. Whatever we do, there's still a way to say, and how can I do this in the best way possible? Even if you don't interact with people and all you're doing is cleaning a house, you can actually channel within yourself the most efficient ways to do that. Ways that you can sing, the best music to play while you dance around cleaning people's houses. And when they walk in later, they go, it's almost like you cleaned it in more ways than one. I did. I totally did. Man, you should have seen. When I was scrubbing those floors and so on, I was thinking about your ex. Scrub those people right out of your hair. I'm doing spiritual smudging, in my housekeeping. Everything we do can be brought to another level. I really believe that. And we find that the more we desire to connect with God in what God really is, it really does affect everything we do. In the early stages, it'll only affect what you want it to affect. And then you'll start becoming, in a positive way, almost addicted to it, going, I should let this affect some other areas. But at first, we tend, like, for example, spiritual teachers are easily going to look like they connect with God when they're teaching. But often, as soon as they step off the stage, completely different. People that write the books, sweet, loving, oneness, God, namaste, and they don't care a thing about other people. They're writing the book because they want to make money or whatever. Nothing wrong with making money, but if that's your goal, then that's your goal. But as we learn to surrender to something greater, the truth of God, it pours down and gives me more truths than falsehoods. Truths are first. Truths are going to come to me, and eventually, more and more, the truth. But you'll never have a complete 100%, 24/7 ability to know the truth while you're in the illusion. If you try to, you're going to create inner conflict. Because this world is constantly telling you with every one of your senses that you're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. Something's wrong. So you're going to say, oh no, the truth of God, love, oneness, prosperity. Wait, let me look at my checkbook. Wait, what happened to oneness and prosperity? Peace and love and wow, bitchin'. We're just so cool. Everything's just peace and love and flower power. And then you have a partnership that just drives you nuts. This stuff gets tossed so easily. It's better for us to not try to force that sense of oneness on a world that doesn't want it. It's better to just become that oneness. That's it. To the best of your ability to be and live that oneness. not to enforce it on a world that doesn't want it. Now, when I say a world that doesn't want it, I'm talking about the ego-based in everybody, the ego-based self, and the global version of that. So one thing that happens for a teacher, and I think for any of us, is the more we start identifying and teaching and sharing the truths, or the truth of God, but truth or truths, the more we do that, it's inevitable it's going to expose falsehoods. So that's why when you start growing spiritually, you start questioning things. And it's why Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, one of the meanings behind, ye must be as children, he says in the New Testament, one of the reasons and meanings behind that is you have to learn to question things. Be like a child who says, why is that? Mommy's sad. Why, mommy? And if the child's young enough, it's amazing. Why, mommy? Mommy, you always tell me to be happy. Yeah, but mommy's got an issue not getting a raise at work. What is a raise? Well, money. What is money? Behind that child is not naivete. Behind that child saying, mommy, why does the money, what is money? Why does it bother you? Well, it's this, honey, pieces of paper. Mommy, why would you be so insane that you would allow a piece of paper to make you upset? Behind that child's questions there's a bigger significance. Well, I thought you said you believe in God. I do, but the paper's more powerful than God. Really? Because that's what you're saying when you demonstrate mommy's having a bad day. Why? Because daddy doesn't love her anymore. But you taught me to love myself, didn't you, mommy? Well, yeah, but that's different. When you become older, you become more needy. What excuse do you have to live such contradiction? Anyway. So you'll start to see through the falsehoods. Like for me as a teacher, sometimes I've done little tirades, I call them, where I just kind of get in a mood, to say, guys, what's up with this? So much, hypocrisy that goes on in the world. There's people that wear namaste shirts, and then they go to political rallies, Namaste, the divine in me honors the divine. No, it doesn't. Not when you're saying the other people are messed up. That's not living namaste. There's people who have these, Buddhist mala beads as they down a six-pack. It doesn't matter that Buddha said, don't get addicted to alcohol or whatever else. Oh, well, we're ignoring that because I really feel the presence of Buddha the more buzzed I get. No, you're not. You're actually not feeling the presence of Buddha. Oh, you don't understand it, man. Okay, you're right. I'm just messed up. So you will learn to see through the hypocrisies. Don't ever think that's your goal, to just walk around exposing everybody's hypocrisy. That's not your goal. You just start to see it. Like the child going, the classic, I've brought it up so many times, the child in the fable, the emperor is naked. That's all you're really doing. And it's beautiful. I think it's a great natural part. But then you start going, things just don't have as much importance anymore, which is really beautiful. Buddha had that happen. And everybody took that and made a religion of him saying, stuff's not important. So they go, okay, mustn't have anything. I'll shave my head, I'll wear one garment, this and that and the other. That was a phase he was going through. And it's a phase you and I go through. As we wake up, we start to go, the stuff I put importance on isn't really that important. You're going to be tempted then to get away from it all, but you don't have to. Mystics did it. Back away from everything. The world's an illusion. Show how spiritual you are by not involving yourself in the world. Detachment. We did talk about that a few weeks ago. No, it's non-attachment, not detachment, not attachment. So it's just their phases we go through, but it is a great one. To go through this thing where you go, God, I just feel like I don't even need a relationship. And you'll have always some insane person telling you, oh, you have to have a partnership. You're not complete unless you have a partnership. Oh, spoken like a truly incomplete person. You'll feel like you're insane. Book title of mine, you're not going crazy, you're just waking up. And the people that are crazy are going to try to talk you back, into going back into being crazy. Why? Because misery loves company. But you're waking up. So if you've noticed any signs and symptoms of you not feeling as invested, why am I not obsessed about a career? You know, like for me personally, people, you know, when I was a bit scared coming out of high school. Graduation day, in my mind, I'm like, this is not good. I have no idea what I'm going to do. And people are at the graduation, you know, telling me, you know what you ought to do. And even like in a movie, there's those people going, you know, we have a position open over at my corporation. I'm like, you know, I hope it gets filled soon by someone else. Because I could not understand and relate to the things of this world, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. It was unfortunate because it was terrifying for a kid to say, well, what am I going to do? And, you know, people are telling you about jobs and how much those jobs pay. We can get you a job here. You know what you need to do? You do this, and then you get a job, and they're all paying, you know, this and that. And I'm like, I would like to be a florist. That's what I thought. You know, and you know, people thought, you're not a florist, dude. You're not a florist. Wouldn't that be cool? Flowers, scent, color, you know, and that was my heart. I mean, that's not the only thing, but that's one of the things I could come up with. So I go to floral shops. Oh, I'm just looking a bouquet for my mother. You know, just any excuse to kind of look and see what those are like. Talk to the people that own it. Oh, so how long have you owned a floral shop? Because I would like to be a florist, man. You know, and they, you know, I would just find there's no, you know, probably wouldn't be your thing, and it involves things you don't know or understand, and so that's gone. And what else might I want to do? My point is, I wanted to help people, and I love color and, you know, flowers. So it's like, wow, I wanted to help people. So it was terrifying. This idea was terrifying because there's a greater truth. It would have been a falsehood to take a job that isn't me. But the world wasn't supporting. You know what you need? Truth. Who are you? Because you can't know truth without knowing who you are. It becomes an external thing then. Oh, look, there's a truth over here. The truth is something that reveals who we are. The real original word knowledge, or the real word education, they actually are rooted in core words that meant for you to remember something, not for you to add data. It was really about remembering. So the ultimate thing to remember is who we are. No, the ultimate thing is to remember who God is. No, those are the same. So the ultimate thing is for me to remember who I am. How do I get a job? How do I get a job if I don't know who I am? So now it's a doing, and it's a getting, and it's part of the world of illusion. The separated pieces that we're trying to assemble in this world. And then we realize, what is the truth? I want to know the truth of who I am. That's what you're really saying. I want a career. What you're really saying is, I want to know who I am, and then your soul's purpose would naturally be there. I want a partnership that's perfect. What you really want is to know who you are, and then a partnership to reflect who you are. Do you really want to sign on? I'm going to go to a desperatehookups.com site, and I'm going to type in, you know, really? Are you going to order up a relationship based on, let's see, the profile? I don't know who I am or what I'm about. Completely lost in consciousness. Send, you know. If you really think about it, what you're really looking for, you being the highest you can be, and then attracting someone that can match that highness. That's ultimately, if we're really honest, what we would hope for. But you can't get the one without the other. I've written books on relationships, and people love them. That's fantastic. But if there's one consistent thing that people would not like and have told me that they have a challenge with in a relationships book I wrote, is that it mentions God. Why do you talk about God in your relationships book? Can't you just talk about hooking up? You know, can't you just talk about finding your one and only? No, I can't. And there are moments when I just go, oh, Michael, could you just leave out some of the spiritual so that it appeals more to the mainstream? You know, you'll get an agent that'll say, why do you have that God stuff in there? Take that out, and this will be a million seller. You know, I guess because I would rather it sell to 10,000 sincere people than a million lunatics, you know? I know that sounds rude, but I'm rude. So I want the truth. I don't want illusions. I don't want falsehoods. Truth. So I look in my heart and I say, I can't do that. And we all have that place to be able to look in our hearts in that place to say, what am I really about? So I can't write a book that's going to fit the illusions. Well, you'll sell more. I'll sell more illusions. And again, as a human being, it will hit me or you or any, sometimes. Why don't you just try a little? Just like a drug dealer. Just try a little. Can't hurt you. It can. We'll become more addicted to some form of illusion. If I just fudge a little bit, what if I'm a musician and they tell me just, and all the musicians who have had their hearts broken, pop stars, rock stars, who are told, write a hit. And they actually lose their minds trying to write a hit. And mind you, that's okay because companies, they want money. I understand that's where they're at. But I'm saying the artist, the sensitive artist, can't easily sell himself out without it taking a toll. And the truth is that's true for all of us, our spiritual selves. Your soul is too sensitive for you to be able to continue, bargaining it away. So A Course in Miracles explains to us, and the Bible's saying, thou shalt not have false gods. A Course in Miracles is trying to say to us, you guys are exhausted. If you really tune into it, there's a part of you that prays for death so that you can just rest for a moment. And why are you so exhausted? Because you keep bargaining yourself away. Because you're not honoring who you really are, and that's exhausting. It's exhausting for you to look for love in all the wrong places. It's exhausting to another job that you don't love. It really doesn't make sense. When I had little ones, children, I kind of told them, grades and that sort of thing. Hey guys, here's the scoop, Daddy, we got A's, we got B's, or report cards. And finally I said, here's the scoop, grades. Here's the rule if you're asking my opinion. I want you to be happy. Happy and getting C's to me is more important than A's and being unhappy. And that's just conveying a general theme for me. Happiness first. The external stuff doesn't matter. Now, if you get A's and you're happy, great. But happiness comes first. So how can I be happy if I keep accepting jobs that aren't me? Oh, but they pay really well. That's to a certain degree, that's prostituting yourself. It's bargaining yourself away, your integrity. And, that's okay because I'm just going to do it for a few years. You become addicted to your patterns. The saying, first you form habits and then your habits form you. And so it becomes an ongoing thing. Before you know it, your life has changed because you allowed a little something. Just like when you're navigating something. When you're navigating a car, a slight turn of the wheel, 1/32nd, 64th of an inch to the right. Stay with that long enough and you're off the road. The most micro level of a decision you make in your life can become ruinous to everything you are. Because it happens so insidiously or so gradually or so casually under the table, behind the curtains, etc., that before you know it, that's where you're at. And then you look back and think, God, I would have rather have done things different. Well, rather than being a person who says, boy, as I look back, I'd rather do things different. Why not start now at the things you'll say eventually, I wish I hadn't done that, and not do it? Why not just say, you don't have to go and quit your jobs tomorrow. But I'm saying, what am I involved in that isn't really me? And maybe think about micro adjustments for now, for the better. Why not think about things you'll set into motion in a bigger way 6 months from now? But put a deadline on things that aren't you. To live the truth, again, God, I wish I just knew the truth. I wish God gave me messages, guidance on what it wanted me to do. It does. What is God? Name a word that's synonymous with God. Love, peace, joy. Great. You want to know what God wants you to do? Anything that resonates with love, peace, joy. If you're doing something that doesn't resonate, generally speaking, there are exceptions. Because sometimes you need to do a change in your life and it's not always easy. Doesn't mean it's not from God. But generally, what you're doing, if it resonates with joy, not stimulation, joy, peace, like a tranquility, like a expansive energy, prosperity, abundance, then you're probably doing God's will. Everybody makes this complicated so they have an excuse to not be doing what they know to be true. It is really that easy. Oh, but my relationship, man, it's way off course from peace and joy. Okay, put a deadline on it. Before you run that barge into a, mountainside, a cliff or whatever in the ocean, before it hits, how about just recognize we're on a negative course and talk to partner and say, look, we're going to steer towards couples counseling. And it's really kind of cool. It's scary because they might say no. That's great because I'll be done sooner. I'd rather be done and sane than to continue in the insanity. Insanity is listening to the illusions of this world. All those who tell you, oh God, so many things in this world, You know what you need? You need some peyote. You know what you need? Here, a drink. What's peyote? Mescaline, man. It's just going to give you really great trips. But it's still outside yourself. The stuff you're using is outside yourself. It could be goals of, I'm going to be a CEO. It's still something outside yourself. So to know truths versus falsehoods, it's very simple, really. Anytime you think something outside of you has power over you, you're already going in the direction of falsehood. It's a good general rule. Okay? Good general rule. Now, what if a book gives me a lot of spiritual insights? Is that an illusion? If you worship the book, if you think, I can't get spiritual without the book. I've got to keep it, in my shirt. And you make it a worshipful kind of thing, you're off. But what you can do is learn from the book and recognize it's so great that God speaks to me all through the day, even through that book. It's a vessel, it's a vehicle, it's a channel, that's all. The saying, God is my source, the book is a resource. That's all. As long as you recognize where the real power is. You can come to a talk like this and it's not necessarily you using something outside. As long as you recognize this guy isn't special or magic, all I'm doing is representing or symbolizing something that is within yourself. And you go, not like, oh, that guy's amazing. I've got to listen to him all the time. In fact, I think I'm going to knock on his door and move in. No, you'll hate me like 2 minutes later. You'll be like, Michael, what's with this refrigerator? This doesn't have what I want. This doesn't have what I want, What's with the decor? We got to do some more of this. You'll end up judging anybody, me, anybody. What you need to recognize is this is good. This is truth speaking to me, and it's between God and I. Leave me out of it. It's between you and God. Thank you, Michael, for being the channel. That's all. That's great. As long as you can track it back to you and God, then you're doing pretty well. But the same is true romantically. Not, I can't live if living is without them. What it is, wow, I really enjoy sharing my path with that person. If they represent positive things, congratulate yourself for attracting someone mirroring your positives. It doesn't really negate our role. Thank us for the role we played. That's all. Jesus puts it, respect us, the teachers, the partners. Respect your children. Respect and appreciate what good we've brought to you. And learn from the negatives we bring to you. But it's still you at the end of the sentence and at the end of the day. What did I learn from this? What can I learn from this? I'm awakening. It's very important to recognize there's only one of us here, the Sufi saying. That person I like, that person I don't. What person? There is nobody. Which person are you pointing at? Them. I like them, I don't like them. Okay, what do you like about them? They have such conviction. Good job. Because you must have that same conviction or admire it. It would be really cool instead of just thinking they have it, own it. Now, I don't like that person. Why? What do they bring up in you? They're just kind of annoying. They this, that, whatever it is, they're too addicted, whatever it is. Oh, so let's look at what that brings up in you and clear that. Own that one and own that one. Own that one and become it. Own that one and learn from it. Both people then have served a purpose. Thank them. Don't say thank you for being such a negative person in my life, but thank them. Thank you. In your mind even, in your prayers. I got it. At the end of the day, retire everybody from all the roles they played today. Retire your boss who looks like they have the power over you. Retire them. This is the most underrated spiritual tool in our arsenal, as it were, on our tool belts. The concept of responsibility. If we could own that there is nothing outside ourselves, everything starts to change. You can't win a lottery that you feel separate from. You can't have a partnership that you feel separate from. Even the concept of intimacy. I taught. Because I believe there's another way, Jesus saying in A Course in Miracles, there's another way of looking at this. I truly believe there's a different way to see and perceive everything. We can change our consciousness about every topic. Work, sexuality, whatever the topic. Food, dieting, health, fitness, whatever. Every topic. Every topic seems separate because we seem separate, so we separated all the topics. And now people are trying to get this topic to come into their life. I want more fitness, I want more this partnership or whatever. At the end of the day, the truth is none of these things are separate. And I need to change my opinion about them. I need to change my opinion about my body. Oh, it's too tall, it's too short, it's too this, it's too... Try not to fix it. First, call upon the only thing that knows how to see your body properly, the Divine Mother, the Holy Spirit. Ask it to come in and change your perceptions of work. I don't need that one because I already know what my work is about. I'm going to be there 6 more months and I need a retirement. I'm going to do this and that and the other. The thinking. Trust in the Mother and say, how would you have me see this? There's pollution. Fix it. Go ahead, try. Or ask the Mother, Mother, how would you have me see this? What about sickness? Because if you get caught in this world trying to fix any one thing, you're going to become exhausted again. Because it's you against the world. And the world has no intention of you winning. You can make little adjustments if you speak loud enough, long enough, more politically enough or whatever it is. But those adjustments just bring other problems. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Call upon the Mother, and all of a sudden, all topics start to disappear in terms of their seeming power over us. It starts to kind of relax. I was trying to change medicine, because the way doctors are. I was trying to change law because you know how lawyers are. No, how are they? Falsehood, falsehood, falsehood. Your perceptions are all wrong. And then all of a sudden you try and say, Holy Spirit, how would you have me see law? How would you have me see medicine? And all of a sudden you feel love for every nurse, every doctor, every surgeon. Your thoughts change because all that matters starts to show up. Love. It doesn't mean you're saying and you believe in or you want to perpetuate false medicines or whatever. That's not the point. It's that I won't know what to think or what to do with medicine, politics, or anything else unless I'm guided, unless I'm plugged in. If I'm in my separate mind, I can't really do much good. Separate mind keeps religion separated. Separated minds keep people, separated of every kind. Even lovemaking, people, I'm looking for someone who I can join in that form, with. Or someone to make me feel complete or whatever. Even when you're trying to be physical, your bodies can't actually totally meld into a oneness state of bliss. The two separate bodies can't. No matter what you want to do. You have cells that can separate biologically, but they don't usually disappear into each other. And bodies don't. Even if I hold your hand, we never actually connect, in case you don't know that. My hand is made up of cells, which is mostly made up of space. So I'm holding space. That's all I'm holding. My space is holding your space. Oh no, I love the caress of your hand. You don't feel my hand. Every cell of my hand has an etheric field around it. So the most you can touch is my force field. Oh, that's wonderful. Nice to connect with you without connecting. Because there's always something between us. I mean, truly. The truth is disturbing. And that's why people typically don't want to hear it or know it. You're never really able to disappear. Where you can disappear, even in lovemaking, is out of here. and deciding to love the person so much that something supernatural starts to happen. What happens is your consciousness is shifting into a time warp miracle bubble. And it'll feel like, what was that? And that's not going to come from hot, steamy stuff you hear you're supposed to do. It comes from slowing down and connecting. Okay? Slow it down and connect. Who are you? You know, to be able to look in another's eyes, how are you doing? And, believe it or not, usually you're going to see my pain body before you see my spiritual body. Because if you can be safe enough for me to open up and my breath quiver, or a loss channels through me, or a sadness, or loneliness, despair, years, a broken marriage, and all those other parts of me come through because you're holding such a perfect space, that's the beginning of lovemaking. It doesn't sound like it. People are like, well, that's not what I saw in the movie last week. You know, I didn't watch, you know, and these two hot partners were like, let's look in each other's eyes and kind of disappear. You know, that's not how it's done in the world of illusion. But once you have it, experience that, you go, wow, it's just magical. And people forget how to do these things because they'll settle for the illusions, stimulus, senses, and so on and so on and so on. You know, and don't get me wrong, you're in this world. I understand that. We're in this world. I'm not saying you should run away from all these things. I'm saying we need to change how we perceive them. How? It's the simplest tool. And again, it's not abstinence. That's the hard way of doing it, but it can be done. But why don't I recommend that we all just become abstinent in everything? Let's fast more, let's do this more and that. Because the ratio, let's pretend there's only been 10 billion people in history on this planet. And trust me, it's way greater than that, we know, because we have almost 10 now. It's 8, you know, but let's pretend there's only been 10 billion people on this planet. 5 have reached enlightenment. That's not a good ratio. And don't take my number literally, but that's about it. Like billions, and it's in the hundreds of billions of souls that have been on this planet. And we're like, you know, there's Buddha and Jesus, and, you know, like, how many can you come up with? Not a lot. You don't go, you know, there's only been a few that just didn't get it. There's a few who did. I don't want to be one of the few. I don't want to be one of the few that worked lifetime after lifetime to become enlightened. And even if I did, and even if I have done that, I'm here to say there's a shorter route. Instead of me becoming enlightened through my own efforts, I'm going to just ask the mother, show me what it is to be enlightened. And she can do it like that. She's still going to ask me, you know, Michael, let's back off on this a little today. Michael, let's guide you in that today. Michael, there's a book, the one that just fell off the shelf. That's the one I want you to read. She's still going to give you micro adjustments, of course, but it's not me trying to do it all. And those who did work themselves, you know, and did it eventually, it's a handful only. And it took lifetimes of that kind of life, that lifestyle. The mother is saying, if you understood how much I loved you, you would realize there's not one of you who can't be transformed in a moment. That's that concept. In a twinkling of an eye, the world will be changed. Whose world? The world? Yeah, but it also means my world. In the twinkling of an eye, I'm awakened. There's no reason to defy ourselves anymore and pretend we're something we're not. There's nothing greater than a person who lives a certain lifestyle. It doesn't matter what it is. And you can say it's a horrible lifestyle. Somebody that's done horrible things to themselves, or let things be done, or did things to others. It doesn't matter. Because when you step out of time into the timelessness of forgiveness and God consciousness, none of that seems to have any bearing anymore. When we say lose attachments, when we say, you know, learn to become non-attached, it doesn't just mean stuff. It means thoughts, beliefs, opinions, memories. So God comes our way, the Divine Mother comes to birth us. So that's the bottom line. If I want to become a being of light, instead of a person caught up in their senses and so on, if I want to be a person of light, it doesn't mean you have to like turn into twinkling little light and dissipate into the heavens. You're still going to live here. You still get to live here. You still get to do human things, but you do them differently. And you start to realize, wow, I need to have a relationship with God, not just partners or myself. I need to learn what love making really means. The word love is in there. So let me bring love into this moment. And if love isn't in this moment, let me cry what is not loving out. And if my partner's not a safe enough person to do that, why am I with him? It doesn't make any sense. It's not what I would advise to anybody else as a counselor. Hey, I'm going to give you some advice. Settle. It doesn't make any sense. I would say, it's a glorious thing to have somebody you can trust. Yeah, but my partner, I don't have one, or they're not someone I can trust. Then trust your counselor, trust your sponsor. Find someone that symbolizes the mother, a vessel that can hold space for you. And as you do that, the wounded self can come through. That's lovemaking. Not in the, one sense, but in the grandest sense. We're making a space, creating a space of love. Thank you for being there for me. You'll have as much gratitude for a sponsor, a counselor, someone who holds space, a chaplain, a practitioner in science of mind groups. You'll have as much love for a person who can hold space there as you would for a partner lover. In a way, it's almost more profound. In many ways, it's more profound. So we realize, I'm ready. I want to know the truth of God. Not many truths, although I'll go through the many truths. Even when I go through many truths, please be careful of that wording. Oh, I just believe in many truths. A lot of us have said that. I just think there's many truths, many paths. Yeah, I guess that's a good start if that's where you want to be. But you realize all those paths start narrowing into highways, narrow into the direct connection. I call it the elevator to God. As we've said, many times, and Bear helped create some bumper stickers along those lines. Go vertical. Connect. Stop talking horizontal. What's dead? Death. What's horizontal? Dead people. Get vertical. Show up. I don't know where these things come from sometimes, but, there's just a countless number of things that we can get caught up in this world. And all I'm saying is let's awaken from the dream. Let's start waking up. So I want to become my light self, not my dense self. Well, the simple way to do that, if you're using a metaphor of bodies, this is my illusionary body. What I want is my light body. Who's going to help me birth that? Well, what's good for birthing? Mothers. Call on the mother. The Holy Spirit of God, come to me, be with me, birth this new self. But if you're going to ask for that, be careful what you ask for. If you're going to ask to be birthing a new self, will you take care of the child that was just birthed? I want to have a baby that I won't take care of. That doesn't make sense. I want to have a baby and I want to take care of it. I want to be, have a relationship with it. That's what you need to do with the child inside, the soul. I want the Divine Mother to birth a new me, and I'm going to do my best, not obsessively, not guilting and shaming myself, but I'm going to do my best, have that new self birthed, but then I'm going to feed it. I'm going to give it water. I'm going to change it. I'm going to take care of it. Keep it from harm as best I can. Again, not obsessively and all that, but I'm going to take good care of it. And that's what we're looking for in this world. Read things that feed your soul. It's a metaphor. The baby, the child you're supposed to be taking care of. Read things that feed your soul. Have relationships, conversations that feed the soul. Things that terrify you. Things that make you feel yucky. Things that make you, mentally, emotionally, or physically kind of contract might not be right for the baby. So you take care of that child and you say, okay, Mother, what would you have me do? This is the most effective, efficient way to birth this Christ self. And we realize there's so many areas of my life I'm going to change. But go easy. Only do as many as you're willing to support in the change. If you give yourself a big agenda, okay, I heard this talk, got to change a lot of things, and you give yourself too much of a list, the odds are you're not going to do them all. When you don't do them, you're going to shame yourself. And then you're going to blow out all of them. Just change what you're willing to change. But think about it. Make a little list. Take a little self-inventory. What isn't mirroring the truth of God? What doesn't feel right for me? Even when it comes to spiritual teachers, even when it comes to, the word God, when I started a while ago, even the word God. I mean, guys, I'm a spiritual teacher, and if there's one thing that, strangely enough, has irritated students, like people of Sedona, teachers and students that are around Sedona, that get irritated with my teachings. They get really turned off by this God thing. Why does he talk about God? Why doesn't he just talk about we are God? Let's go up on the Red Rocks and be God or whatever. What's with this Michael guy and relationship with God? That's old school. No, old school is relationship with religion. And I understand their disregard of religion and their dissing religion. I get that. I understand the history of that. But there's something more waiting. Relationship with God is how you nurture and feed everything to a new level. And people kind of walked away from that. So when I came here, I was like, we're going to do this God thing and the awakening of Christ consciousness. And I thought, if they don't dig it, that's fine. I'll just do, because that's what I'm about. And I was one of the first and greatest things I've ever experienced in Sedona that I didn't expect was the number of people that said, thank you. This God thing, that's what we've been looking for. I mean, honest to God, I was like, wow, you guys really get it. Yes. There's so many groups in Sedona. We worship UFOs and Bigfoot and everything, but not God. So thank you for bringing God back in. And honest, I was just like, wow, thank you, that they got that. Because that's the main gist of what I'm teaching. God and God in us, not religion, but the God in us is known as the Christ self. Change the word if you need. The I am present, whatever. But God and the God self, that's my first relationship, and that's my intention, to nurture that relationship. And that's where it's at. And so many people said, thank you. But at the same time, I've tried to explain, and that could be brought into everything. It's brought into diet, and some people get irritated at me when I've talked about that. Bring it into intimate relations. And so it's interesting, because the first wave of people that got turned off to me or Unity of Sedona at all, the first wave were those who wanted the job that I was given. Them and or their students got ticked off, they left. That was the first wave of people out. Second wave was people that said, this guy talks about intimacy, sacred sexuality, tantra. So there was a wave of them that left, because that was like too weird for them, which makes them a good date. So the third, I don't know where they went, but don't hang out there. The third group, again, the second group, he's talking about sacred sexuality. The third group is he won't allow that sort of thing. He says no to that sort of thing, because there was a large contingent in Sedona of people that were, involved in some really, strong tantric groups. So they were coming here and they thought, there's a tantra teacher, he's written a book, he's clearly going to be everybody's going to just be making out. And I told them all, knock it off. So the religious people didn't like me because I said, there's more. The people that wanted more didn't like me because I said, back off. So it's like, you people, you need to stop hooking up every day with different, and with such carelessness. What about love? Oh, no, we don't like that word, We like to just be whatever. Well, you be ill, So go ahead. And then the opposite group was like, the hyper-religious. So these guys are going one extreme, these are another. And I go to them, you guys, relax, back off, and find love and an integrity within that you share with others. You guys need to have sex, or whatever. Like, so both extremes of groups, they split. Now, as a teacher, as a human being and as a teacher, that was a hard thing, because I'm like, whoa, I didn't mean to turn you off in a sense, right? But I know the truth, and that it was right to teach this center, middle path. I'm sorry that this doesn't like me, that doesn't like me, but this is the right thing to do. So in our lives, you'll know what's right. You're going to lose some people. Some of it's going to look insane, because it's like, how could I be that? You guys don't like me because I'm that, but if I was that, they would like me. And they don't like me either. You can't, the saying, you can please some of the people some of the time, but not all the people all the time. So even in your pursuit of spirituality and being born into a new level of consciousness, there are going to be, casualties, so to speak. If you're purposefully intending to hurt people, trying to act like you're better than them, you're in the wrong. You're in the illusion. But if it happens because you're just being true to yourself, there's no more reason to carry that or bear the guilt or shame. Unless you're doing it on purpose, it's not your fault. Some people just aren't going to dig that. And I'm very grateful that enough people after these few and these few split, that there's enough people to say, wow, what is this energy? You see? I could have kept talking as though I was, because I could have simultaneously played into them just enough and them into just enough of them to keep them here. But I just didn't feel called to do that. So this middle path, they get it or they don't. So they leave and they're replaced with you. They're replaced with people that verbally they're getting something, but you understand there's an energy, guys, that was built by me standing by that principle, right? And so what do you think is going to happen in your life when you stand by that principle? And again, it doesn't always feel like that's the direction it's going to go. As a human being, you go, well, Michael was talking about this great karma that comes from being true to yourself and the energy and twinkles and fairies and angels. Oh, no, it doesn't always feel like that. There's moments when you're, being shot at, all the stuff that comes at, people just flinging stuff at you. And you'll have moments. Did I do the right thing? Maybe I went this too far and that too far. Ask the mother, help me. Help me, mother. Be with me. Don't be afraid and don't be ashamed and don't apologize that God comes first. That's the truth. And don't be ashamed or apologize that you also believe in nurturing your God/Christ self. And as I'm closing, I'll say this much without going into details. There's some Gnostic Gospels or lost books of the Bible, some people call them. Books that were either not discovered in time to be considered for the Bible, or they're books that were considered and not allowed because they were a little too mystical. Some are Old Testament Torah related, some are New Testament related, but some of them that are out there are some really deep, magnificent teachings. These Gnostic teachings. Now, even the Gnostics, which are like the New Agers of the ancient times, they're like the New Agers. And those, even they got infiltrated by ego and wrote some things that were a little off. But generally, like you and I, they had the new thought, the new age of the time. And there are some teachings where we find these scrolls, these gospels, where Jesus is sitting with his apostles after his crucifixion and resurrection. He's sitting with the apostles giving them teachings, which we hear about in the New Testament slightly. But there are gospels that are written that are the teachings that he gave them. And in particular, he sat with Mary Magdalene, and he sat with Mother Mary and John and a few others. And they're saying, teach us. And so he starts downloading teachings, and some of these are recorded. I'll share more about it someday, but he starts downloading these teachings. But what's amazing to me, one of the most fascinating things, is he starts talking about how these 12 elders, I'm paraphrasing, so much control the universe. From God to the 12 elders, like the zodiac, and archetypes of gods, goddesses affecting the universe. And he's talking about how, but the separated ones down here on earth don't get that. They don't get the direct teachings. They get lost, they get confused, and then they start listening to man's 12, meaning almost like the 12 archetypes twisted by the ego self. But what's really cool is he says, it was, I think, Magdalene that was asking him at this one point. She says, but what do you mean by the 12, so on? And she's asking him, and he says, basically he says, it's like the zodiac. And again, I'm paraphrasing. It's like the zodiac. He said, it has always affected mankind. And she says, but why have some of the teachers of the old told people, they started telling people, don't listen to fortune tellers, don't listen to the zodiac and all that. He didn't condemn it like people think. He said, I have actually gone and unplugged 1/3 of the effectiveness of the zodiac on people. Now, this isn't a wise individual, this Jesus guy. This is the Christ who was given the keys to the universe to unplug all the power of fortune telling, psychic abilities, zodiac, and all. I unplugged it. She says, why would you unplug the power? He says, so people would start going to God. Get back to God. He says, I still left some of the power there, to actually say. So he's saying, I confounded, so that the astrologers then, when they read, because at that time, they could be so dead on, because it was fact. It was the truth. Fact. But, he says, but But I don't want to lose people. And they're even if they believe in that, it's accurate. It is accurate. But I want them to go directly home. I want them to go back to God. So I've unplugged some of the power so that when they do readings, it won't always be as accurate as it once was in ancient times. Why? So that they'll say, why? They'll call out to something else. Now, again, he's not dissing astrology because he even says, but the effectiveness and the accuracy, I still left it in there. Well, who's going to find how to make it accurate? Go to it with the right intention. If you go to the stars and the charts and whatever to meet God, you'll meet God. If you go because you want the stars to tell you what to be, go ahead, good luck. Some days accurate, some days not. Pretty weird, huh? Pretty cool. But remember his point. I unplugged what was once this power that was taught by the ancients. This is accurate stuff. Symbolism, astrology, it's all accurate. And people were like almost worshiping it at different times, different cultures. They weren't told, don't listen to this and that and the other like we hear in the Bible and fundamental traditions tell us. It was that you made it into your God. It was supposed to just be the email from God. Read the email. Don't worship the dang thing. It's who wrote you the email that matters. And so go ahead and get your reading. But ask God to help you. And I've always told readers and people I've taught to do reading, ask for God. Ask for the Holy Spirit to come through these things. Ask to get the highest guidance. Ask even for the question, the right wording of your questions if you're asking questions. God first in all things. Please take a few centering breaths. Just set aside all stuff. Anything you heard that you didn't agree with or that didn't fill your heart, your soul, inspire you, let it pass. That's a responsible, empowered way of dealing with things that don't resonate. It's fine. It's simple. If I or anyone else says something, does something you don't like, and you use it to not like them, it's actually not what they did that's as important as you using it to keep distanced from a person. And that's what a judgment is, separation. So simply hear it and let it go. It could be you didn't get it. It could be you didn't get it yet. It could be he was off. It could be it doesn't work for me. And let it go. But then, did you hear anything at all that made sense to you? Anything. A comment, a joke, a deep statement, a connecting thing for you in your psyche, a relationship point. Just let your mind float through the talk today and find pieces that resonate. And it could be many, but also just for now, isolate a few gems. And then soak them in. Own that you got something from them. Own that they're meaningful. And then forget that it was a guy standing up here telling you these things. Imagine that this was you and God having a conversation, and that on some level your soul was asking for that information, either an answer to a question, an answer to an issue, or whatever. Your soul was asking, and God answered. And then simply marvel in the meanings to you, the feelings it conveys, as well as the feeling of, what if God really did show up and answer me today? Marvel in that concept. I am having a relationship with God. It spoke to me. Prophets of old saying, the Lord God spoke to me, and there was a host of angels around me. Those are the people in the room. There's all these other beings hearing guidance from God. Those are angels. And even if people are watching online by themselves, there's no by yourself and there's no distance. You're in this room with us too. I'm sharing this experience where God was speaking to me. There were angels all around. There was a feeling of tranquility, almost like I had died and gone to heaven and then came back to talk about it. That's what we're experiencing. A part of me did die today. As soon as I heard something new that I wanted to absorb as my reality, it basically tossed out or negated something that was no longer true for me. You see someone later and they say, how's your day? And you can honestly say, I died and went to heaven. What do you mean? You mean you saw angels? Oh my God, lots of them. What did they look like? Different colors. Some looked male, some looked female. It was amazing. Did you meet God or some master? Yeah. Did it speak? Absolutely. What did it tell you? And you tell them your truth. It told me love, ... It told me truth. Did it feed your head? No, it actually fed my soul. Was it about memorizing details and data? No. It changed my feelings. I experienced healing, hope. A part of me died. You mean your body? No, even better. Old beliefs, limiting beliefs, and my limiting beliefs do affect my body. So the cause of my death even died. I experienced friendship. The angels around me didn't feel like things to worship. They felt like friends. It felt like I could ask any one of the angels that I saw in this glorious temple, that I could ask any one of those angels, would you put your hand on my heart? And they would have. If I would have said, put your hands on my shoulders, they would have. If I would have said to the angel, could you hug me? It would. It wrapped its wings around me. Some of the angels were crying because of the old going and the new being felt. Unconditional love. That's what heaven felt like today. Now, lastly and most importantly, is heaven a place we went after we died today? No. We have to bring it home. We have to bring it right back here. So we don't go to the other side wishing we could stay there. We go to the other side, which is within us, grab hold of it, and bring it into our daily lives. I guarantee I'm going to be different today. I hope it lasts the rest of my life, but I know that sometimes I forget. I'll forgive myself in advance for the times I forget. But when I go home, the shows I watch will be different. They don't have to be all perfect, holy movies, but I will see them differently. All my relations, all my conversations, as holy as possible. I can still raise my voice and be firm. I can speak softly. Depends on what's the greatest good in the moment. But what I do know is the mother it is that's guiding me. And I give thanks. And so it is.